Hello, how's it going, everybody? So, I want to talk to you today about, you work somewhere, you don't like it, you heard about, well, I heard about this job, IT job, and I'm like, I want to earn more. I know that I can, but really, what does it mean, right? So, what does IT mean? Information technology, you probably heard like, oh, .com millionaires and all that. Okay, so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs, right? So, six fields basically, right? And I'll just go over them really. Windows admin or Windows administration. So you're administering a server, administering maybe help desk, something like that. And I'll just start off with that, right? That's probably good idea. So what is a Windows admin? So Windows administration is like basically you have a bunch of servers that you maintain. Maybe you update patches for them. Maybe you add a server to the domain. Maybe you add users. Maybe you reset accounts. So the different types of jobs under Windows administration are like help desk administrator, systems administrator. You could even do system engineer, basically. You could also kind of include in there like maybe an application, like Windows, like IS, like information. What does IS stand for? I forget. But anyway, it's a web server. It's a Windows web server. So basically, you could maintain that. That's a job in itself in some regard. Yeah. So basically, to get started, I guess, in the Windows administration, I would even start probably what's worked for me, but I should say, it's a call center. So firstly, maybe go do telemarketing or call center jobs where you answer people's questions, plus you get free training. So usually it's like a 2-week training, and they train you. You get hands-on experience. So the whole idea behind that is to learn how to get rejected, I guess. Like, of course, people are going to yell at you over the phone. That's common, right? But the ability to like get over that and say, okay, well, that was one rejection. Let me get to the next one. Always fail, right, until you succeed, that type of thing. So, yeah, call center's pretty good. It's free training usually, 2 weeks training, and it gives you those soft skills, and you kind of get familiar with, okay, this is how to answer calls. This is multitasking because you're on the computer as well as answering somebody's call questions, putting information in, data entry, stuff like that. The next one I would say for the job-wise is help desk, like a help desk admin or even a tech support for like let's say Comcast, Charter, Xfinity, other ISPs. Maybe you call and my internet doesn't work, right, or something like that, or my cable TV doesn't work, and they have a system in place. Again, they train you. So that's tech support. You're just doing basic stuff. My internet doesn't work. But you're getting around the IT area, right? You're getting around computers, networks, how it kind of works together. The other job, probably after that, really is a help desk admin. So this is just Active Directory where that comes in play. So user calls up, my account's unlocked. Can you unlock it? You unlock it, right? You also get familiarization with some sort of ticketing system, maybe a Remedy, maybe OS Ticket, maybe Salesforce. I think they have some sort of ticketing system built into theirs. Sugar CRM, Tiger CRM, something like that. Yeah. So that's help desk. Unlocking accounts, creating share folders, basic admin stuff, right? You could even maybe do like Windows repair, change hard drives, change CD-ROMs. That's usually help desk. You go to the user's computer, do maintenance on it, fix something, CD-ROM's not working, hard drive needs replaced, etc. Then after that, it's usually like a junior sysadmin or just sysadmin. And sysadmin's mostly servers. Mostly it's like, how do servers talk to one another? how do you join a computer to the domain? You'll do that, a lot of troubleshooting with maybe applications. So for instance, maybe updates. You install stuff. Maybe you install a third-party piece of software on a server for your customer, or you might update the server or update a bunch of servers using WSUS, or I think SCOM, right? Yeah, SCOM, right? Just little things like that. And, there's no time limit either on it. On Windows Admin, there's no time limit. So theoretically, you just get the soft skills going. You could be, help desk in a matter of months, from call center to tech support to help desk in a matter of months. It's really just based on what you want to learn. So for instance, you might go to help desk, or rather call center, go home, learn, then go to tech support, go home, learn, and then help desk, go home and learn. And it's really easy. So, Virtualbox makes it very easy. Windows makes it very easy. You can download the operating systems from windows.com. In the show notes, I'll include the links on how to download some of this stuff. The other thing is, you can download anything for free, really, from Windows, basically. And then from that, you can create your own Active Directory box. Your own domain. You can create your own network, essentially, in VirtualBox. So you can really simulate a lot of stuff. So you can get some good training, hands-on, and then, just keep applying, right? Update your resume, and just keep applying every week, maybe go on 3 or 4 interviews until you get to the point where the level of the type of job you want. Maybe you want a sysadmin, so you keep applying, and all the interviews you go on will prepare you for that job. So, for instance, you might go in an interview and they say, well, you're help desk, and we want this or that. They might say, like, do you know Active Directory? And they're going to name like the roles, and you're like, well, I don't know. So what you do is you write that down, and then you go home and you Google it, and then you practice it. What is this? And you really learn it, right? And then so you're prepared for the next interview. So you might get the job based on what I've just told you. So system admin, and then you have system engineer. So system engineer is like more the design person. They design, okay, we need this many servers for X. We need this, many. We're going to buy this type of hardware. Maybe it's Dell, maybe it's Hive, maybe it's Hitachi. Let's see, who else? HP, right? Those are the persons that people that system engineer people that say, okay, this is the type of hardware we want in this environment based on performance, right? And they do the research and the white papers and all that. And same thing where they also might do training manuals for the company. That could be also a thing because they're like the high-end person, system engineer. So that's Windows in a nutshell, basically, Windows administration. Now let's go to the next one is network admin or network administration. So network administration is more than just like a router. No, I can't access the router. So, the internet has BGP, right? That's how computer or networks talk to one another. So you might have, say, for instance, Charter talking to Comcast. They use like BGP or eBGP, whatever it is. Okay, so just starting off junior level, right? You can download Vios, which is an open source version of it's an open source network operating system. You can also read, it's called IETF, I think it is. It explains like the different protocols, or you can go to protocol.com or just YouTube, like RIP, Router Information Protocol, or Routing Information Protocol, rather. And then OSPF, Open Shortest Path First. Then BGP and ISIS. So the reason I leave out EIGRP, that's only Cisco. That's Cisco proprietary. Not everybody uses that except for Cisco. The switching side, you have QoS. You have, I think it's 802.1q. I think it is. I think that might be a Cisco proprietary switching protocol. I don't know if you call it a protocol or not, but you could do a lot of this at home, really. If you had your own, like if you had a router at home, let's say, Linksys, you have Netgear, Buffalo, what else? you name it. I mean, D-Link, right? Those are just routers. So you could do a lot with that just to learn the basics of it. You necessarily can't do any OSPF or BGP with that, but you could at least kind of familiarize yourself with it. But with VIOS, you can. You can use some of the routing protocols except for EIGRP, and just familiarize yourself with how a network works. So the levels of network admin, right? So you have network admin. That's the person that does a lot of layer one. Like layer one, I mean, like you have 7 layers, right? You have layer 1, layer 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's like, please do not throw sausage pizza away. So physical is the plug it in. I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to plug in that Ethernet cable. Physical, please do not. So data, which is what is data? Data link. Data. What is data? Gosh, see, I forget myself to re-educate myself on this. Data, please do not. Network. So I know the network is layer 3, and network is like routing, right? So from your computer to the router. The router is before it goes out to the internet. That's the default gateway. So pretty much that's every case. So your default gateway is pretty much always the interface that goes out to the internet. So maybe your home network has a router and it has like 4 ports or 5 ports or 10 ports. And every one of your computers has an IP address, right? 192.168.1.1 or 192.168, whatever. Private IPs. So their default gateway is the IP before it goes out to the internet, essentially. So that's all. Usually that's always your default gateway. That's always what it is. So if in your mind, before you even get started, you could just draw out your network at home. Really, start off with like, I have this many computers, I have this network, right? And just play around with it and say, okay, this is how I can make it better. This is how I can increase performance. Here's what I need to do. I want to put a web server in. I want to put a media server for your home videos or something, right? You can design your own network at home, and you kind of get hands-on really with network that way. And so that's layer 3. Then layer 4 is transport. Please do not throw transport. Yeah, so I'm going to skip 4 or 5. Please do not throw sausage. So session, and then there's session sausage pizza. Please do not throw sausage pizza. Presentation and application. Yeah. Okay. So applications like what is application? Application is like a browser, right? And that's 7. So 6 is please do not sausage pizza away. Pizza presentation. I guess presentation could be, I don't know, the frame, maybe how it's presented, the code, if you will. I think, I don't claim to be an expert on the OSI layer, and nobody. You don't have to be either, really, if you want to just YouTube it, and you can learn off the top of your head. But I know layer 3 is really important because you always hear like layer 3 switch, right? And layer 1. Oh, layer 1. It's a layer 1 issue, meaning user layer, right? Like I'm not plugging in right or something. So that's that. Okay, so let's move on past that. So a network admin, in a nutshell, network administration essentially is you're managing a router, managing a switch. You configure a router, configure a switch. It kind of crosses the line a little bit in firewall admin because you are stopping things from coming in. So it's kind of like firewall, but it's not. They have other applications, other tools for that. So just a basic network admin, and network engineer is just like this title that, if you're like a CCNP or above, right, or you're somebody that handles multiple networks from, maybe, I don't know, a data center. You would handle a data center. So the network for a data center, you would take care of that. Meaning you're coming up with the plans, you're coming up with, you're going to say, we would need to buy this equipment because of performance. You're going to do like the set the VLANs for the routers, rather for the Windows servers or Linux servers. You put them in their own VLAN. Maybe you do the backup network. You configure that as a network engineer, or you design it as a network engineer. And usually the network admin is the one that does the legwork. So they're the ones that pull the cables, plug it in, make sure the router is working, make sure the switch is working, save the configs, legwork, right? So that's network admin in a nutshell, according to me. So then you have firewall admin. Firewall admin is, okay, so port 80, port 443, those are common ports that are open for your browser, internet coming back and forth. Port 22, that is SSH. Somebody want SSH. When they say like, oh, just SSH into a server, you're usually a secure socket host, I think it is. You're just getting to that Linux box, usually it's Linux or some device. Windows usually don't SSH into that usually. I've never used SSH for that. I know there's like PowerShell and all that, but I've never used SSH to get into a Windows box from another location, if you will. I know you can go in command line when you're in the Windows box, just not from somewhere else. So firewall admin, there's a lot of good resources for this. If you want to self-teach yourself on it, MonoWall, pfSense, F5, F5 Big IP F5. So a lot of those you can download for free and use a trial version, so you can learn it yourself. Untangle is another one was it Utangle? Yeah, Utangle for firewall, and it's basically like you start off with the premise of my network is open to everybody, and then now you say these are the known ports. So there's like 1 through 65, 535. These are the only ports ever. That's the only ports ever going to be allowed in your network. I mean, that's the max, right? So 1 to 65, 535. That's only the amount of ports you have in the whole world. Unless somebody knows something I don't. But that's it. That's the range, right? So that's a lot of ports, by the way. But in those ports, there are certain ports that are taken, like 80, 443, or common ports, I should say. 80, 443, 22, what is FTP? I think it's 23 FTP is. 110 for email, 25 for POP, I think it is, like receive and send ports for email. There's a lot of ports out there, but the firewall admin is, okay, we have these ports that are vulnerable, like for instance CommVault, right? CommVault uses port 8400 through 8403, I believe, to use to communicate through the CommServe and the media agent. That's an example. So if the firewall admin disables that port, I can't, you can't use CommVault. You can't use the backup because it can't communicate, right, across the network using those ports. Now you can set in CommVault to where it uses other ports, but by default it uses those ports. So the firewall admin maybe you would put a request in with the firewall admin, or you just say, hey, firewall admin, or you might be the firewall admin, and say, I'll open these ports. And the big popular one now, I think, is not SonicWall. It is Palo Alto, I think it is. That's a pretty big firewall. FortiGate is another one that's really popular that a lot of companies use. But if you learn that, you could just get a job with just a firewall admin. If you learn it really well, you should know like some Windows stuff, just as be a well-rounded. But I've seen it where people, just know that and they have a job. So, to each his own, right? So there's firewall admin, right? And I'll put some in the show notes. I'll put like links to some of the things I recommend, to download. Now we have storage admin. Okay, so storage admin is a big deal, right? In the IT world, you always hear about data center, like data center this, data center that. Data center could be like a couple hundred feet wide, a couple hundred feet long, big as a football stadium, not the height, but the width and all that. And they all have servers inside, right? And so, like, for instance, you go to facebook.com or google.com, and your data is somewhere. Maybe your pictures on facebook.com. And you go and you say, oh, pull up my Facebook. Boom, got my pictures. And you take a picture and you save it, right? Well, that file probably gets shrunk, first of all. Probably they have some sort of compression that shrinks it and throws it on one of their storage servers, like it's a file server essentially. So like OpenFiler is free and open source. FreeNAS is an open free one, so you can learn how it works, the fundamentals, right? iSCSI, NFS, CIFS, what do they mean? You can learn that just by actually doing. And there's a couple other ones. There's like NetApp. There is what? There is that's a pretty popular one for companies, right? Nimble storage is another one. There's Veeam. VMware doesn't have. You can use like virtual storage, right? What is it, vSAN? I don't know if they still have that product or not, but what else? There's just a lot that you can do. But you could Google like storage companies, right? And all it is just a hard drive. So most of the hard drives, I don't want to get off topic here, but most of the hard drives are made in like Taiwan by all these companies. So the difference being on all these companies, the storage companies, is their software. So some might use like FreeBSD or Debian as their front end or their application, right? FreeNAS I think uses uses Debian, I think. OpenFiler probably uses Debian or OpenBSD, one of those two. You'll see it when you download it and play with it. You'll see that. And, that becomes the challenge, right? Like, can anybody do it? Maybe. I don't know. But if you want to try it, go for it. But storage admin, it's pretty high demand. How do you save the data, right? And then, okay, my data's here. Make sure it gets saved. There's one thing that I want to go back to on the firewall. It just comes to my mind. There's a product called Splunk, right? So I know that's pretty popular as well. So for instance, here's why actually firewall or storage, and here's why firewall is important. A company has an attack, hacker hacks their whatever, right? Well, typically they don't know right away. There's like an IDS, intrusion detection system, and there's an IPS, which is a intrusion protection system. Maybe the attack came from the inside. Who knows? But what Splunk does and what other programs like it do, the Firewall Admin, right? Why it's important as well as what I just described earlier is because of logs. To be able to view those logs and go back and say we were attacked. Okay, here's what happened. We can look at the logs, the firewall logs, and say, oh, that's why. Well, that's why we got hacked, or this is how much data was taken from us, or whatever, right? So that's one of the other reasons why firewall admins are a big deal, why it's important at a company. So that actually plays into storage a little bit. So the firewall admin is going to have to store the data somewhere, right? And that's why storage is a big deal. So you might, the storage admin will allocate you so much bandwidth or so much space. So there's a couple different certifications like SNIA, I think it is, or CompTIA has like a Storage Plus, I think it is, certification. But just to learn it though, like right now there's not really one that's like industry standard that a company says you have to have this. They want like experience on like different products, different companies' products. Like maybe they want experience on. If you don't have experience on the vendor one, like that are it's pay. It costs money to actually use it, like Nimble Storage, right? Then you can just use OpenFiler or FreeNAS because at least you can get the fundamentals down. I can understand the fundamentals, So that's that. And then we have database admin, right? And this is probably one of my favorite ones, right? There's only 4. What is it? Let's see. There's Oracle DB, or like 12D, I think they're on, or 12C. That's one. There is MySQL, which is a variant of. Well, that was probably the original SQL, but that's MySQL. And you have. What do you have? You have DB2, which is an IBM product, and then you have SQL Server. And there's different like MongoDB and CouchDB and all that, but or no, I think it's a uh, no SQL DB or forget anyway. So those four, right? Those are the four major ones, right? So Oracle DB, 12G, if it's free to download. If you learn that, you're good, dude. You're good. You have a job forever, really, because just by that alone, being a database administrator. Oh, I know Oracle. Okay, good. There you go. If you hone your skill, you learn it. That's all you need to learn. That's what you want to do. Because there's a job for that, right? I've met plenty of database admins who were like, okay, can you add this domain? What? That's like really, yeah. Somebody else does it for them, right? So anyway, okay. Let's see. So then you have MySQL, which is free and open source, like Linux or Red Hat. They use that usually. Who else uses that? I want to say, well, Facebook. I don't know if they use that or not, but a lot of your websites, like WordPress, uses MySQL as their database, right? So that's a pretty good skill to learn there. And then you have DB2. Now, DB2 I have no experience with. No, never done it, never used it, so I have no idea. But it's made by IBM, and it's probably free. I'm sure it is. You can get a free version. And then, of course, Microsoft SQL. Now, Microsoft SQL, I've had a lot of experience with that. And the big key with that is, like for instance, SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoint, and I'll put these in the show notes as well. Microsoft SharePoint, along with SQL Server, is really good. So if you're a SharePoint admin, or if you know SharePoint and you know the backend, which is they call it the backend, which is the database. So the database holds like I have video actually on this channel that you can watch about SQL, how to install it. At any rate, yeah, SQL's pretty good because you can create a database. You go to Walmart, for instance, let's say, all your transactional stuff you have, that's saved on probably an Oracle database or a SQL. Most likely it's going to be Oracle because that's beefier. But some mom and pop shop could have your point of sale stuff like your data. Like for instance, your transactions, like customer A bought X amount of products, right? And so they can use it for reordering. Well, there's a database. It's probably most likely my SQL Server that they're using. A lot of different applications for SQL. And it's free. So it's really good. And if you hone your skills for SQL Server, you're really on your way. So that's database. And now we come to something I'm very familiar with, which is backup administration. So you have like backup admin, backup storage. You're gonna see like jobs on the internet as like backup admin, storage admin. Usually they're together, right? They kind of group them together because they play nice together, right? They're kind of in the same realm. So backup administration. So if you know one, they all have to work kind of the same way, right? So for instance, CommVault. I have a CommVault video on this channel, and I have a Veeam video as well on this channel. So I'll include how to install. I'll just give you the links so you can play around with yourself for the Veeam and the CommVault. But those are two great ones. There's Bacula, which is a free open source version one. But just to get your feet wet in it, CommVault and Veeam are pretty good. CommVault's good. So for instance, why is backup so important? For instance, this kind of goes into the firewall or just data in general. For instance, your email on your Hotmail email, that's backed up with CommVault or Veeam, one of the two. So that means your files, you don't even know this. They just do it in the background, right? Like a data center somewhere just uses CommVault. You would never even know that they use CommVault, but they use it because they just tell you we back it up, right? And there's a lot of free, there's a lot of the versions that, the software, but CommVault's pretty good for backing up data. So for instance, a backup admin would like set and forget it, run a backup of data on a server, right? A file server, whatever, and keep a copy. For instance, you might back it up a weekly full, right? And then daily incremental. That's typical. That's what they usually do. And so ask yourself, like, well, what do they have? What do they have in common with, say, the storage, right? You have so much space. After a while, you're going to fill up. Well, there's a technology called deduplication, which means like-minded files. For instance, like the operating system in Windows, you have all the C drive contents, and you're backing up a server, so you back up 5 or 6 servers, let's say, right? Or C drive or Windows. Well, they're like-minded. So what happens is the software says, well, I only need one copy of that. Okay, and the rest I don't need. So it takes that one copy of the initial software, and if it needs to, what word do they use? Not propagate. It's called I forget the top of my what's it called? Not ingest. It's another word, but basically you bring it back. You bring it back to data, and they just take a copy of that, that Windows whatever C drive, and they give it, restore the files, right? So anyway, there's one caveat probably on this is VMware. So VMware is good. That's another thing to learn as well. Really, really, really good to learn, because they're going to ask you probably, like, do you know VMware? And a snapshot. What's a snapshot, right? So with here's a good thing about that. Virtualbox is very similar to VMware. Very similar. Has snapshots. Has a lot of the same functionality. It just doesn't look the same. But if you understand it, you'll understand VMware. Yeah, and so like I said, on my channel, I have a video about CommVault. I have a video about SQL Server. A video about SharePoint. Feel free to take a look at it and play around with it and download it and play with it. If you spend, let's say you work at a job X. If you spend 20 hours a week, and most of the stuff's free, or yeah, almost all of it's free, really, except for like a laptop, whatever costs your laptop or desktop, or your time. So if you spend 20 hours, the key is really to do something simple, something small, and get it done, succeed. Do something small, real easy, succeed. Oh, I did it. So you want to get the confidence, right? You want to get that confidence built up, so that when you do this bigger, oh wow, awesome, and you work through those problems, and I'd say 20 hours a week. If you want to get a job, or if you desperately need a job, do 20 hours a week. Until you fail. So the first time, 3 or 4 times, you're like, oh, I don't know, but don't get discouraged. Just keep trying, and keep failing, right? Until you have that aha moment, like, wow, awesome, that's so cool. I didn't know I could do that. And then kind of probably also when you go to these mom and pop or Walmart area, go to Walmart, look around and say, okay, well, I know that computer probably connects to somewhere in Bentonville, right? And they have say 4,000 stores. So 4,000 stores times maybe to do, I don't know, 1,000 to, I don't know how many transactions an hour they do. I don't know. Let's say it's probably like 300 per store, probably more, maybe 500. 300 per store, let's say, per hour times X amount of hours. So the numbers are really large. So all that data gets stored somewhere, probably in Bentonville, I don't know, or even like Target or whoever, just kind of understand it that way, I guess, if you want to try to think of it in that terms, and then you'll be on your way. The key is, again, like I said, just to fail until you get it. Bam! Wow, awesome. And the other thing is, teach somebody else what you know, because you're going to learn more about what you don't know. Like, oh, I can't even think about that. So when you teach somebody, you're also saying, hey, I'm learning, but I'm also teaching. Like, oh, okay. And then if it comes out of your mouth, like, oh, okay, I see a better way that I can learn it, because you're expressing it that way. Anyway, I appreciate you watching this video. I know it's a little long, and thanks a lot. Have a good day. Bye.